Uh, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Visible.
Changing also
Yes,
there.
sir.
The screen is changing also.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
okay. So yesterday I had explained to you the way uh, a balance sheet may look like or can be prepared using either horizontal or vertical format, and some of the concepts you wanted to know also were explained. Now, when a balance sheet is finalized, it is drawn, the final balance sheet is drawn only, or balance sheet as well as profit loss account only, after taking into account the adjustment entries. When I say adjustment entries, I mean there are certain transactions which can be recorded only after the trial balance, profit loss account, and balance sheets are ready. Those entries, those records we call as adjustment entries. What are those adjustment entries and how do we incorporate in the balance sheet? That is what I am planning to discuss now. But before that, if there is anything that you wish to ask, you have you need a clarification, or you just wish to ask anything, you can just ask me, then I'll proceed.
So I have a question.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So on Google Classroom, you posted 231 questions and in a PDF file, and you asked us to choose the most relevant ones.
Hmm.
But actually, we did it in a group activity form. So were we supposed to do it individually, or were we supposed to do it in our group itself?
Karma, the purpose is that once, see, you have certain questions in mind. So once I visit, keeping in mind Calcutta Motors case, I can see these clarifications as how is it that those people are doing it practically, isn't it? Now you may be having, I mean, each one of you may have a limited, thinking. So you may expect some five questions. You may think of some five questions. Similarly, your another friend may have another two, three questions or something like that. If
I
all
got
questions are in front of you, so we will not be able, perhaps we will not miss any one which was relevant. So that is what the whole idea was. Now, if two of you, three of you can pick up from those, it doesn't matter. But why I did not ask you to pick up from those? Because now groups will be different. Groups will not be based on your choice. Groups will be based on the city you are living in, isn't it? Somebody from Delhi, he needs to visit an automobile showroom close to his house or whichever is the criteria. So naturally, one of your friends from Aligarh cannot join him or should not. Let the people from Delhi or from Mumbai or from Ghaziabad, wherever they are currently living, will form a group. I have already written the instructions about that I'll be posting in the Google Classroom. So they will form a group within the city, and then they can approach collectively two, three. If, for example,
it.
in a city there are so many, there are 20. All 20 will not go. They will form a group of three each, and then they can visit different. The idea is to get maximum information from different dealers and to find out how are they doing. Is it clear now?
Right, so actually, sir, my group members and me, we are all from Aligarh itself, so we have had physical discussions
But
about
I
it in
had, no,
person.
it's okay, okay. Once I post the steps of the next this one session, everything will be clear. And moreover, if there are some issues, I'm always available on the WhatsApp. They all can be posted. The questions can be posted in the WhatsApp group, so that if I'm not able to answer, someone else can do. Okay, you all should record. You all should record your roll numbers, so that your attendance can be marked, and then we will move on to the adjustment entries topic. So the meaning of adjustment entry is clear to you. So those adjustment entries should not be confused with like some illegal or unethical adjustment is being made in the balance sheet of a company. People do it, but that is outside our scope of discussion. How they do it and what they do, this is perhaps is not a subject matter of class. At least in the classroom, it can't be discussed. So we let us talk about what are those adjustment entries which are available on your screen. You read the screen, you will find that once the profit loss account and the balance sheet are ready, certain adjustments are to be made, for example, regarding for depreciation. A brief reference of it was made yesterday also. You cannot make an entry for the depreciation unless you are sure about the value of asset. So value of asset will be known only once your trial balance agrees, because you will be writing a figure of your assets in your trial balance. So now you have figures in your trial balance about furniture, about building, about land, about machinery, several things which you classify as assets. Which assets? Fixed assets. Only on fixed assets you can charge depreciation. The reason of, when you charge depreciation on fixed assets, you show it. What does it become in terms of accounting language? This one equations element. What does this depreciation become?
So reduction in capital
Reduction in
expense.
capital. No, what is it primarily? Revenue or expense or asset or what?
So
Expense.
loss.
It is your expense or
So,
loss.
so expense.
Correctly, it is an expense. And when it is an expense, what should you do? Debit or credit?
So debit.
Expense
Debit,
will
sir.
be
So debit.
good. Expense will be debited. And what should be credited?
So liabilities.
Okay, so first of all, what is a liability? Something payable to somebody.
Yes,
If
sir.
you are
It will be
charging
credited, sir.
depreciation on an asset, is anything payable to anyone?
So assets account will be credited.
Assets
So the
account
asset.
Yes,
assets
sir.
account will be credited because
So because due to depreciation, the value of assets is reducing.
correct.
So that's why we have to
One more,
credit it.
just one more sentence. Because of depreciation, value of asset is decreasing, and decrease in asset is credited.
Credit. Yes, sir.
You remember the rules?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
The
sir.
decrease. Okay, so depreciation account will be debited and asset account will be credited. And for example, for everything that I have mentioned on this slide, recording for depreciation, recording for closing stock, recording for provision for expenses payable, provision for expenses paid in advance, or entries for revenue received in advance, or recording for provision for debtors, etc., etc. These are all examples of adjustment entries. How do we do it? First, I'll tell you the conventional procedure that you will find in the books. Any book that you lay your hands on, you will find the conventional method of this. But I'll explain to you a step ahead, one more step. And that step would be how are these done through systematic recording of entries and transferring of ledger and trial balance, etc. What is the process actually based on the kinds of account and all those things. So first let me show you how are these done conventionally. See, you have a balance sheet. It looks, you have a profit loss account. It looks like this. You have two heads, credit side and debit side. So depreciation, because it is an expense, therefore you are writing in debit side. Let us say the transaction is, let's suppose it is 20% on the cost of asset, and cost of that asset, let us say furniture, is 50,000. So depreciation would be 10,000. So what kind of, what shall we do, or what will we do in our this profit loss account? We will write 10,000 on the debit side. Profit loss account will have several expenses on debit side, like salaries, wages, etc., etc. So one of them would become depreciation. This I am talking about purely what is mentioned in the books of account. Nothing to do with the way it is done in real life. I'll explain to you both. First, let me complete what is available in the book. So we will write, are you convinced that 10,000 has to be recorded on debit side of profit and loss account?
Yes, sir.
Secondly, what we do, you have balance sheet. In the balance sheet, you have asset side and liability side. So in the balance sheet, you record furniture or any asset. So first you record furniture. From that, you subtract 10,000 rupees. So in the final column, you write 40,000. So in the total, when you total balance sheets figure, you will total amount of furniture, you will include the amount of furniture as 40, not as 50, because the 10 you have subtracted because of depreciation. So the treatment that I have accorded in the balance sheet, is that also clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So first thing is what we are doing, we have recorded a depreciation in the profit loss account debit side. Why? Because it was an expense, and expenses are recorded in the profit loss account debit side. Secondly, we have subtracted 10,000 rupees from the value of furniture, and finally, whatever is the correct amount after depreciation or depreciated value, we are writing it in asset side. What is this value called? An asset has been depreciated. After depreciation, you arrive at a figure. What is this value called in accounting language? I had explained to you earlier, you might have forgotten. Can somebody tell what is this value called? Value called 40,000 rupees. Can you recall an abbreviation of a word? WD.
Sir, written down value.
Correct. It is written down. It is written down value. So this is how depreciation can be adjusted. You may have depreciation on several assets like building, like machinery, like this, like that. Everywhere it will be done like this only. If there are 10 heads of 10 assets on which you have charged depreciation, you will write depreciation like this. Depreciation on furniture, depreciation on building, depreciation of machine, depreciation on this, depreciation on that, and from respective assets it will be subtracted. Now let us take another example, another form of adjustment entry. Second adjustment entry, closing stock. So closing stock, how is it recorded? First of all, it will be valued. Closing stock will be in the form of units, products. In the balance sheet, you don't write products. In the balance sheet, you write values. In the light of which concept do you write values in the balance sheet?
The materiality.
No,
So money measurement.
it is money measurement, because you are writing money, monetary value of it, not the products and all. So we will record value. So we have valued it, and suppose our valuation is 50,000 rupees. How do you value? Cost price and market price, whichever is
Less.
So less.
whichever is lower. Correct. Whichever is lower. Which convention is guiding you here?
So
Sir,
So
conservatism.
Conservatism.
Very true, conservatism. So you have valued the stock following a particular concept, and you are recording it now. The next question, where should this be recorded? What is closing stock for you?
Sir, asset.
Asset. Asset. Which asset? Fixed, current, fictitious, tangible, non-tangible, intangible. Which one?
Current asset.
Current asset. So you are recording current asset, or
सर
in the
एसेट होता तो प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट में डालते उसको.
मैं बता रहा हूँ, अभी बता रहा हूँ, एक मिनट. तो पहला एस्पेक्ट तो क्लियर हो गया कि दिस 50,000 रुपीज. कैन यू सी द मूवमेंट ऑफ कर्सर? The one that I have highlighted now or underlined, isn't it? तो ये एसेट है, आपने इसको एसेट में लिख दिया 50,000. Now what is the second, if what is the why are we writing in the asset, why are we writing in the profit loss account? This was the pertinent question. Correct. Pertinent question, correct question. Why should we write in the profit loss account credit side also? What do we write in the profit loss account credit side?
So revenues we write.
Revenue, absolutely right. We record revenue in the profit loss account credit side. Is it our revenue that we have written here? Is it
No,
our
sir.
revenue? No. Okay, what would you do with the closing stock? Assume that it is sold today. What will happen?
So that will
Assume
generate revenue.
revenue will increase, and what will happen? Your asset will also increase, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Cash in hand will
Okay,
increase.
capital will increase.
No, why will capital will increase in the form of revenue, and your
Yes,
asset
sir.
will increase in the form of cash or bank or
Creditor or debtor. Sorry.
debtors. So what is happening with the availability of closing stock? that your revenue is increasing and your asset is increasing. Agree?
Yes, sir.
But you may say that we have not sold it so far, isn't it? Sell to
Yes,
हुआ
sir.
नहीं, sell तो
जी
नहीं हुआ ना.
जी.
Then why are we recording it as a revenue? This can be another probing question. The assumption that I have made, it will be considered as your revenue. It will also be considered as an asset. You are convinced about that, aren't you? All of you are
Yes,
convinced
sir.
about it or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Then what do we
Yes.
do? We record it in our books of account only temporarily for not more than 12 hours. Let us say at 5 o'clock, you are recording it as your revenue, assuming that it will be sold and your asset. Next day, when you open your books of account, this closing stock becomes your opening stock, isn't it? When
जी.
it becomes your opening stock, you record in the profit loss account debit side, isn't it? So it becomes your expense there. So today's revenue will be cancelled with tomorrow's expense. So on the closing day, you will record it as your revenue, and on the opening day of your account, you will record it as your expense. Suppose if this is not clear, let me take you through some other example. Think of a small vendor, a small fruit seller who bought fruits worth rupees 1000 in the morning. In the evening, he has sold all fruits just for 1000 only, but he has another 2-3 kgs of apple or something remaining with him. So to calculate the profitability, will you take this closing stock into account or not?
So
Suppose,
can they can still be sold, right?
say it again.
They can still be sold at this point, no?
No, suppose the time is over, he is going home.
So temporarily we can store it because it will be an output for the
Yes, next day.
day.
Next day. If somebody, suppose he bought them, he bought for 1000 rupees, and he sold also for 1000 rupees, but 5 kg remains, and 5 kg he can sell at the rate of rupees 20. So will his profitability be 100 rupees for the day or no profit? It will be for the 100. It will be profit for the 100 because to the sales you add closing stock. Therefore, closing stock is taken as a revenue on the last working day and taken as an expense on the next working day. Is it clear? Yes.
Just like on Friday, the stock market closes.
No,
So what?
no, those are different examples. Those are different examples altogether. It is a very common example. A company which is dealing in products, not services. You don't stock services. Apple phone or your laptop or bags or fans, anything that is your product, tangible product. So they are buying and selling products. The day they are closing, they have a stock. That stock is converted into rupees and taken as revenue. Because of revenue, show it in the profit loss account credit side, and it is your asset also. Therefore, you are recording in the assets.
Debit side.
The asset, I mean, in balance sheet, no debit and credit. In debit, we have got asset side and liabilities. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Another question. You see the balance sheet. The assets are given on. If you consider balance sheet as two sides of a ledger, so which side is this? Debit or credit?
So
So
right side
debit
is
side.
credit side.
Right side is credit, but you are writing assets here.
So
Yes,
debit
sir.
side.
Left side is liability, but you are writing in debit side. Why is it so?
Yes.
Why is it so? Okay, think over it. Before I proceed, I am posting a question in the chat box. You need to type the answer. It is, I do it because it is tested that you have done something, and also it records your intermittent attendance also. Like you don't switch on your mobile or something and then go out somewhere. So you post this question, just you post the answer. I'm posting a question just like you do it. You have been doing before. Write your roll number followed by either A or B or C or D or E. Before you answer, ask me if there is any clarification you need. Have you read the question?
Yes, sir. I calculated only the students of Aligarh.
What did I ask you?
Sir, I did not
I don't
calculate the
mind. I
number
don't
of
mind.
cities.
Do whatever you want. You write.
So I'm sorry, but I don't know what. There's some technical glitch, I guess. I can't see the question. I can see the answers, but I cannot see the question.
So you can repeat the answer.
So
You
I
didn't see
won't
the
do that.
you didn't see the question because by the time you looked at the
Nah, so people started writing suddenly, so
correct,
it
correct,
just
correct, correct,
exactly.
correct. Let me post it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now can you see it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, go ahead. All right. So means there was something wrong in the communication somewhere. You all noted. Okay. How many of you have noted from Aligarh?
So 40.
40.
The 14 Aligarh.
100% correct. Okay. How many from Delhi?
So 3.
Sir, 3.
3.
Just let me check with mine. Just 1 second. Let me share this screen. It will be easier. Or do I need to perhaps stop sharing the current one and then, or simultaneously two
Yes,
cannot
sir.
be?
If you're sharing a window or a tab, then you'll have to close the current one and then reshare the next one.
Okay. No, I cannot take this risk. I'm not that comfortable. So I'll just okay. 40 from Aligarh. How many from Allahabad?
So only one.
Bijnor?
One, sir.
Bijnor?
1.
Azamgarh?
1.
Hathras?
1.
2.
No.
Sir, 2.
2. Moradabad?
So 2.
Bombay?
None.
None.
Chennai?
So none.
Chandosi?
One, sir.
1.
Sasni?
So 1.
1. Patna?
No 1, sir.
So no 1.
Yeah, no, that you have done it correctly. Fine. I am just looking at the Excel file, and I have done. How did you do this? You manually counted or what?
Sir, I
Sir,
used
Manually.
Sir,
Sir,
I
manually
searched
count.
Delhi and I saw how many times it appeared in the after
Yes, sir,
searching it.
same.
You say it again. How did you do?
Sir, there's this search option in the chat, no? So I
Okay.
searched Delhi and I saw how many times it appeared in messages. It
Wait,
appeared
hold
only one
on.
time.
But daily, you might be receiving several messages, not in this group. You may be receiving several messages from either groups or individually in your this cell phone. If you type Delhi, suppose somebody wrote a message to you that I will meet you in Delhi on so and so date. So that too would have been counted, or you have
No,
searched
sir.
it within
sir,
the group.
every group has
We can
separate
search
search
within the
options.
Within the group, we can search. Sir.
Okay. Within the group, we have searched. Somewhere, for example, in this group, we might have mentioned Delhi. So you would have counted 4 times, isn't it?
No, sir. I can see what message Delhi has come in. So I was ready to go through all the messages that contain Delhi.
That contains Delhi in this group, not necessarily pertaining to this particular question, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anyway, if had I reached my message because nobody had written Delhi before me, so I would have automatically used that as a stop point. That any message before this does not concern sir's question.
Okay. Fine.
actually,
Good.
sir, what happened? Like when we are searching in the group something, then it appear like it starts from the initial part, like from the last part, not from the top part. From the bottom part it starts. So we are able to scroll up and figure out how many times the things have occurred.
Fine. I have got okay. In all, anyway, the compiled list is available. I'll share with you while we talk about. Acha, have you noted the names also of the people? No.
Yes, sir.
How would you form the group then? There are 40 people from a result. If they wish to form 10 groups of 4 each, how would they form the groups? Anyway, this is the second task. I'll post in the this one as an instruction in the Google Classroom, and then we can have some more discussion if required at that stage. Let us continue what we were doing. And now the purpose was to know that you are active in the group in the classes or not, that you all have mentioned E, hardly one or two. It doesn't matter whether you have done this or not, but the purpose has been served. It matches with what I calculated. I used it. I copied the chat in Excel, and then it was done. And that was also a possibility. Fine. So, is this part clear? In this closing stock? If this part is clear, I'll move on to the next adjustment.
Yes, sir.
I'll move on to the next adjustment. It is the suppose providing for expenses payable. So first of all, we decide how much expenses are payable, and suppose salary is payable rupees 30,000. So what is salary?
Expense.
And what is salary payable?
Liabilities.
Liability, sir.
Liability. So expenses will be shown in the profit loss account, and salaries payable will be shown in
Liability side.
liabilities. I have not mentioned, I am just should we enter 30,000 rupees somewhere else also? So first we have entered 30,000 rupees in profit loss account expense side. Our original salary bills were 150, 30 are payable. So we have added 30 also. And in the total, the salary figure that would appear in our financial statements will be 180, though we have paid 150 only. First, let us be clear about it. Salaries payable 30,000. Assume that your original salaries that you have already paid are 150, but the salary that you will be accounting for in your books of account of a current financial year will not be 150, but it will also include a figure of 30, which is payable. So in the profit loss account, how much expenses have you incurred on salary? 150 or 180?
180, sir.
180, sir.
180 will be taken forward. 180 will be the basis of calculating your profit or loss for the year, though paid or not paid. It includes something which is payable also, though not paid. How much not paid? 30. Which convention is guiding you here?
Sir, revenue recognition.
So
Revenue
conservatism.
conservatism और
No, sir, matching.
मैचिंग. तो तीन में से एक ही तो सही होगा या तीनों हैं?
So एक
Sir,
सही
as
होगा.
soon as the employee had rendered his services to the company, he had to get the money. Doesn't matter if he got it or not, but it is still owed to him.
Just are you recording the books of account of employee or company?
So for company, of course.
हाँ, तो कंपनी में क्या होगा?
सर कंपनी के लिए भी तो एक्सपेंस जनरेट होगा ना.
अच्छा, तो ये रेवेन्यू आपने बताया रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्निशन.
Sir, is it the accrual because we are recording it? We are not like we are not paying it. So on an accrual basis, we are recording it.
और बताइए, एक काम कीजिए, आप सब लोग इन तीनों कन्वेंशंस को दोबारा से पढ़िए, ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
दोबारा से पढ़िए. We will come back. So one part is clear that it is to be recorded as an expense. What will be the second part? What will be the second? We will show it as our liabilities. I have not mentioned here because I just put it in the form of a question. Should we enter 30,000 rupees somewhere else? So what was your answer? Yes, we should enter. Where should we enter?
So liabilities. Because we have to pay it later.
Yes. So we will write here outstanding salaries or expenses payable. Outstanding salaries, and we will write here the 30,000. In real life, what happens? Even in some books, you will find that there may be several outstanding expenses or several expenses payable. So they will write simply expenses payable 1 lakh rupees as per annexure 1, 2, 3, any number they can refer. And that paper, annexure 10, 20, whatever is its number, will have details of all the expenses payable. The 10,000 salaries, 20,000 this insurance premium, 30,000 rent, 40,000 this, total into 1 lakh. In the balance sheet, they will write expenses payable, so many rupees, as per annexure. Annexure will have the details. But here we may write outstanding salaries, outstanding wages, outstanding rent, everything, and they will be added respectively in the profit loss account in the respective head. सैलरी में सैलरी ऐड कर देंगे, रेंट में रेंट ऐड कर देंगे, प्रीमियम में इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम ऐड कर देंगे. So this is third example of adjustment entries. How do we incorporate those adjustment entries in our profit loss account and balance sheet? Clear up to this stage?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then,
Yes, sir.
then next thing, another example of adjustment entries, providing for expenses payable. This I have already explained. Then, okay, look at slide number 11, wherein I explained that. I have explained to you up to A, B, C only. Now D, E, and F you do on your own. Can you do that?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you what is D. The answer should include every one of you, not only from commerce but everybody. What is D? Recording for the expenses paid in advance. Those of you not from commerce, tell me what will you do? Any one of you?
Sir, first of all, expenses will be debited in the. Okay, Dharma.
What will you do?
Adil, you can go ahead.
Okay, sir. First of all, expenses will be debited in a profit and loss account because
No,
they're
tell me
expenses.
how would you do it? What will you write in the profit loss account? Suppose expenses paid in advance. These are I'm writing here. This is your rent. You have paid rent of rupees 500, rent of rupees 1,000 in advance. What would you do? What will you write where?
Sir, rent paid in advance and simply and then put it into profit and loss account under expense.
Okay. Then second.
And the other thing we saw that expense advance rent is also an asset. We saw in the previous classes as far as I can remember.
What would you do? Tell me.
So we can put it in. We will put it in the asset side in the balance sheet.
Okay. Someone else. I hope all of you have listened to what Adil said. Let someone else come up with another answer, another treatment.
So the prepaid rent will be added to the rent in
Think over again. You will make
Sir,
two entries. Just one sec. You will make two entries. One of the entries Adil has said will be recorded in the asset side as prepaid or advance rent. What will be the second entry? Where will you record it and how? Okay,
The payment of prepaid rent.
Okay, where will you record
Sir,
it?
deducted from rent.
Yes, this should be the correct. You will record rent. Suppose your rent that you are showing is 1 lakh rupees and prepaid is 10,000. So how much rent should you show in this financial year? 1 lakh or 90,000?
So 90,000.
90,000.
90,000.
In the profit loss account, you will write rent rupees 1 lakh minus rent paid in advance 10,000, and in the outer column which you will use for totaling, you will show as 90,000. It will be just opposite to what appears here. Salary is payable, so you have written 150 minus, plus payable 30, so 180 you are saying. Because rent paid in advance or anything paid in advance is just opposite to what is payable. So if payable is added, paid in advance will be subtracted. And you will show the rent which is actually meant for this financial year only. Is the explanation clear or should I explain you again?
Clear, sir. Clear.
Clear. Just let me give you one more example. Suppose you hired a building on 1st of July. Of any financial year, you hired a building on 1st of July. Yearly rent was 12,000. Yearly rent was 12,000. But the agreement between you and the landlord was that you will pay upfront annual rent. For 12 months, you will pay in advance. So how much in July you would have paid? 12,000 rupees. But up to December, what was the rent that you have actually, the space that you have actually used? You have used
So
only for 6 months.
6,000 rupees.
6,000 rupees. So you cannot show 12,000 rupees as the rent of this financial year. How much you will be showing for this financial year at 6,000, and 6 will be shown in the next financial year. Next financial year. Keep in mind, or maybe note somewhere, what kind of entries shall we pass when we are paying in advance, when we are adjusting the rent paid in advance in the next financial year. My question is clear?
Can you recall once again, sir?
The question is, you should know how do we pass journal entries, which accounts are debited, which account is credited when we make an entry like this. What kind of entry do we pass in the next financial year? All that you should practice and you should remember. So recording rent paid in advance, you have now is clear that you will write rent and you will subtract paid in advance in the profit loss account. In balance sheet, you will show advance rent in the asset side. Now entries for the revenues received in advance.
Sir, in the PL account, we'll add advance revenue to revenue, and then in balance sheet, advance revenue would be written on the liability side.
Do you agree with both these statements Arma has made?
No, sir. Revenue should be deducted, sir.
Sir, it should be deducted.
Okay. He says revenue should be deducted. Who agrees with whom? अरमा से कौन लोग एग्री करते हैं और दूसरा किसने? लोकेश ने बताया? किसने?
Yes, sir.
हाँ बताओ, लोकेश से कौन एग्री करता है और अरमा से कौन एग्री करता है?
So Lavkesh.
Lokesh is right. How do you defend Arma?
Sir, because
revenue,
we have
we are receiving it. We are
You are receiving in advance. Is it your revenue till such time you deliver services?
Okay, no, sir, I understood the point.
You got it now? So what Lokesh said was right. You all have agreed with the logic also, isn't it? Reason आपको समझ में आ गया उसका? ठीक है ना? Can you just I desperately need a break of 2 minutes only. Just I'll join you. Excuse me for just 2 minutes only. I'll be back. All right. I'm sorry for that. Okay. So I'm back now. In the meantime, did you think something? At least you must have thought. What do we do when we record for provision for debtors? What do we do?
So in the balance sheet, they'll go as assets, first of all.
ओके और कुछ सोचिए थोड़ा सा कुछ और लोग सोच के बताएं I am talking about F. What would you do? Where will you write what? Is the sentence, sorry, the word which is written there, recording provision for debtors. Is it clear? What is it? Recording provision
Yes,
for
sir.
debtor means what?
Yes, sir. In case if debtors fail to pay
Yes,
the
correct,
amount,
correct. You anticipate that some of them, some percentage, 2, 3, 4, 5% may not pay. May not pay. So you make a provision for them. Fine. The concept is clear. Then how do we record it? What do we do? What do we do?
sir, is it deducted from profit?
It will be deducted from profit, but profit you have not calculated. You are making profit loss account.
Right.
So from revenue, would that be a better option wording?
Okay. Any other way out? Again from those who are not from commerce. There will be two things that you will do. First thing should be, let us say, can you explain its treatment in the balance sheet, which is slightly easier? What would you do in the balance sheet?
We'll deduct from debtors.
Yes, correct. You will deduct from debtors. Suppose your debtors as on date are 1 lakh and you think the 10,000 rupees may not be paid. So you will write debtors 1 lakh minus doubtful 10,000, and in the outer column, which will be meant for a total, you will write 90,000. So this part is clear. What will you do the second one?
So reduction from revenue.
Okay, any other option?
So we'll record it separately as an item of expense in profit and loss account.
And what will be its head?
So RBDD,
RBDD, reserve for bad
RBDD,
and doubtful debts.
Yes.
Reserve for
bad and doubtful debts.
doubtful.
Doubtful.
So you will record in the profit loss account debit side. Why are you doing so? Because it is your
Expense, sir.
no.
So it is our loss.
No.
It contributes to our loss.
No. No. Any other answer?
Sir, expected loss.
Certain loss might be
Yes. Because it is
Expected loss.
expected loss.
expected loss.
It is neither loss nor expense, but it is expected loss. So you will record in the profit loss account as expected loss. Okay. So likewise, you can think of more adjustment entries here. D, E, and F I have explained, but do it on your own. You also think of more adjustment entries, and how would you record those in profit loss account and balance sheet? All these 6 that I have done so far, all these 6 that I have illustrated so far have been recorded twice, isn't it? Is there a possibility that one may be recorded only once?
Sir, wouldn't that violate duality?
So
Yes.
that's okay. You're right. Your answer is correct. You are saying it cannot be recorded because it would violate duality. Right.
So also it will be an error of duplicacy that you told.
Say it again. I didn't get
Error.
you.
So error of duplicacy.
Error. Why duplicacy? Duplicacy means, let me tell you, duplicacy means, or repetition means, you record one transaction twice. So when you are recording a transaction twice, it is assumed that you are recording debit and credit both. So instead of recording 2, 1 debit, 1 credit, you have recorded 4, 2 debits and 2 credits. That is the error of duplication. Okay, so
Okay.
what you told, it is because you are doing it in the light of duality concept. So these are being recorded twice. Very true. Another question. Why is it that in all these 6 cases, one was recorded in the profit loss account and the second was recorded in the balance sheet? Why is it so? Why not both in a balance sheet or both in, or it was just a coincidence that all the illustrations are like this only? Is my question clear to all of you?
Profit and loss account is
Yes, sir. The
concerned with
question is
expense
clear.
and revenue, whereas balance sheet is concerned with liability and assets, which is why we recorded it separately.
Okay, any other answer? ये सवाल कॉमर्स के बच्चे जवाब दें, कॉमर्स के लड़के लड़कियां बताएं. इफ द क्वेश्चन इज क्लियर, ये 6 इलस्ट्रेशन मैंने आपको बताए और 6 के 6 इलस्ट्रेशन में ये हुआ है कि एक मरतबा हमने प्रॉफिट लॉस अकाउंट में लिखा है और एक मरतबा हमने बैलेंस शीट में. ये क्या कोइंसिडेंस है या हमेशा ऐसा ही होगा? देखिए, आज अच्छे खासे स्टूडेंट्स हैं, इसलिए बता रहा हूँ आपसे. मैं जितने भी सवाल यहाँ करता हूँ, जितने भी, ये आप जैसे कहते हैं ना पेपर आउट है आपको, यही सवाल आपसे एग्जाम में भी हो, इसी तरीके से आपसे एग्जाम में भी मालूम किया जाएगा. तो जिन लोगों ने अपने कान यहाँ खुले रखे हैं, you should not merely be physically present here but mentally also you should be present. ये नहीं कि स्क्रीन पे आपकी शक्ल दिखाई दे और दिमाग में आप सोच रहे हैं कि क्या करना है, कौन सी मूवी देखनी है, कौन सा ये करना है, कहाँ कपड़े खरीदने जाने हैं. ऐसा नहीं. अगर आप मेंटली भी अलर्ट हैं, आप वो सवाल सुन रहे हैं, सवाल नोट कर रहे हैं, उसके जवाब के बारे में गौर कर रहे हैं, मुझसे मालूम कर रहे हैं, then you can expect A++++. I can't give you more than 100%. But if you are not physically present, you are mentally absent and you take it non-seriously, then we would perhaps meet next year also.
इंशाल्लाह.
अरे किसने कहा इंशाल्लाह? तुमने सोचा मैंने क्या कहा था? मैंने क्या कहा था बताओ? कौन था जिसने इंशाल्लाह कहा? जरा दोबारा से बताओ. हैं? ये तो बिल्कुल भाई, मैंने ये कहा कि हम लोग नेक्स्ट ईयर मिलेंगे, इसका मतलब ये है कि ये आप पेपर दोबारा भी मुझसे पढ़ेंगे. तो आप कह रहे हैं कि अल्लाह ने चाहा तो ऐसा ही होगा. ये तो बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है. आप ये कहें कि खुदा न खास्ता मैं पास हो गया. भाई खुदा न खास्ता कब कहते हैं? ये माशाल्लाह है, इंशाल्लाह है, खुदा न खास्ता, ये कॉमन यूज में आप लेके आते हैं. कब कहते हैं? चलिए बहरहाल, इट मे बी स्लिप ऑफ टंग. बताइए यहाँ तक जो मैंने आपसे डिस्कस किया, इसमें कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो बता दीजिए. एंड आई विल बी पोस्टिंग द असाइनमेंट ऑन कैलकाटा मोटर्स फर्दर in your group. So I will be writing it in bold, underline, message, and also I am sharing on the screen that taking up this assignment is purely optional. Visiting a showroom, seeking clarification is purely optional, not because you do not want to do it, but because of the current situation. Pandemic में अगर आप चाहते हैं आप या आपके पेरेंट्स आप बाहर ना जाएं, ये सब काम ना करें, तो you have no obligation, you can opt out. Because of the pandemic situation, I cannot visit. मुझे रिस्क है, मेरे पेरेंट्स नहीं चाहते, तो no adverse effect on your grading. If you wish, go. If you do not wish, don't go. I will be writing it also, and those who are willing to take this calculated risk, they can, and those who do not wish to, or their parents do not want them to, they can stay out. So I will be closing the class, but before I do that, check if you have any question you wish to ask. Anything, I'll explain. Otherwise, we will close the class.
Sir, where to find the slide number 11?
Oh. Correct. Because I have not.
So 1,000. So you wrote 1,000 instead of 10,000 there.
Doesn't matter, वो तो सिर्फ illustration है ना खाली. देखिए स्लाइड 11 में मैं एक सेकंड में जा रहा हूँ यहाँ पर, इसका आप फोटो खींच लीजिए जल्दी से.
Sir, can you please share these slides?
Okay, I will do that better. Don't
Yes, sir.
Don't go
Yes,
for.
sir.
I will share these slides.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank
I'll
you.
post it. No, that is what I should. you remind me, I'll do that. I'll post it immediately on the group, and I will also post the calculation that I have made, like in your Excel sheet. बता रहे ना 40 अलीगढ़ के हैं और 50 बॉम्बे के हैं, वो भी मैं आपको अभी इसको दोनों फाइल को अपलोड कर देता हूँ. ठीक है ना? Then we'll meet tomorrow inshallah. Tomorrow I'll be engaging in class. I'll post it in the group. You can leave the meeting now.
Thank you, sir.
Sure,
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. It's a pleasure.